tap that subscribe button and keep it locked here to Secrets to a Free Mind show with your host, Melanie Parker, powered by Quality Girl. In this episode, we'll hear from a licensed therapist on loving the unlovable children. Keep it locked. Welcome back. I'm Melanie Parker, founder of Quality Girl and your host of Secrets to a Free Mind show, where we help you free your mind, move forward in life. Shout out to Mike Horn at Mike Life Poetry on Twitter for co-designing the cover art and composing the beats. In addition to listening to this podcast, be sure to tap the thumbs up icon, subscribe button, and bell icon to love us, follow us, and receive clips via Twitter on episodes. Let's welcome Leslie Hardy. Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Melanie.
What a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for asking me to be a part of your platform.
Absolutely. So, who is Leslie Hardy?
Who is Leslie Hardy? Well, I am a native of Raleigh, North Carolina. I came from a small family. Just have a younger brother and my two parents. Thankful that they are both still living and in relatively good health and independent. I like to think of myself as a fun-loving mother. I have an adult son. We have a very good relationship, and he's, kind of on his own, living in another state, doing very well. I'm a woman of God. I'm an author, serial entrepreneur, and a lifelong learner who's just young at heart. I just love life. So that's who Leslie Hardy is. Being from North Carolina, I went to two of the best schools, North Carolina State University, go Wolfpack, and UNC Chapel Hill. But no, I am not a house divided. I love both my universities, and, attending school here, I actually have over 25 years of professional experience in the mental health, behavioral health field. That's kind of what I went to school for here in North Carolina. So I love working with people. I like to say I am a people and personal development person. That's who I am.
Thank you for sharing all of who Leslie Hardy is.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, typically, our pain becomes our passion and platform. So was there an experience that was training ground for you?
Yes, I would say my entire life. I really would say, Melanie, that I'm here to speak life and to be a change agent, to really help people walk in and identify really who they are as a person, their power, and their purpose, to really embrace that process. And so I'm passionate about that because that was really a challenge for me for so long. I had taken on this persona of who I thought I was supposed to be or who I should have been based on other people's opinions. And that was because I didn't really think I was good enough. I had some things that I had adopted along the way of life that really were not mine to own. And so, this whole process of life is, in my opinion, really discovering who you are and walking that out. And so, like many of us, I had amassed an external list of accolades to try to compensate for how I didn't feel inside. So my experience was actually a process of going from, not really knowing who I was and choosing to release the me others would see in order to receive and walk in my true identity. And, that was really, my experience. It was really a process. And so it was like a culmination of various things. I wouldn't even say it was one particular thing. It was a culmination of various things. And then, as I matured in life and became more knowledgeable, just more independent, was exposed to different things. And, as we get older and we mature and matriculate and just come independent young adults, and you have the opportunity to really begin to make your own choices and decide, well, who are you going to choose to be? that whole process was the experience that really was my training ground, honestly. I know that was a long answer, but it was.
No, it's all that we need. And I think we all can relate to that. Come into the knowledge of our true identity, which is nothing like it. No appearances, no competition, just being who you are. And I think if we know that no one can contend with you of being Leslie or anyone being who they are, and being secure and certain in that is so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now tell us more about your profession.
My profession, well, I actually went to USC Chapel Hill, got my master's degree in social work, and so I am now a licensed clinical social worker in the states of North Carolina and Georgia. I am also a certified clinical supervisor, a licensed clinical addiction specialist, an inner healing and deliverance coach, life coach. I do marriage and relationship work, and I'm also a facilitator of Stewards of Children in Darkness to Light, which is a child sex abuse education and prevention program. And this actually, March is actually National Social Work Month. So, we are the people that help. That's how most people think of social workers. I enjoy helping people, and I enjoy helping people discover the truth of how great they are, and then helping to guide them into their purpose, through identifying and maximizing their gifts. I truly believe that, every person is born with a gift that is theirs to contribute to the earth in whatever capacity that they do. So as a mental health professional and personal inner healing coach, I tell my clients that every answer they're seeking is within themselves. And my role is to help them to really uncover and discover the answers that they seek by equipping them with the necessary skills, the tools that they need that maybe they didn't receive or develop along the way of their journey. One thing I like to tell people all the time is you may not be responsible for what happened to you in life, but as an adult, it is your responsibility to heal from it. And so I love helping people and just being a part of their aha moments when the shifts happen, and I can tell they got it and they're really moving forward in their own place of healing.
Oh, yes. And we thank you for sharing your skills with us today and helping us on our journey. We're excited, and we're so excited to hear all that you have to share with us.
Thank you.
Now, what is the first step to identifying the root cause in a child's behavior and attitude?
Wow, that's a good question. Honestly, I would say understanding the root cause of any behavior, no matter what one's age is to know that pretty much every behavior is driven by a need. Meaning that, whenever you see someone doing something, the first thing I always ask is, okay, what is going on? What need are they trying to meet there by exhibiting that behavior? And so oftentimes, and depending on a child's age, their development, how mature they are, they may or may not have the skills or the language and vocabulary or even the confidence, of how to actually appropriately, what we would call appropriately, express themselves or ask for what they want. And, that's to be expected to some degree because they are children. So what I would suggest the first step to identifying the root cause in a child's behavior is to ask the child. And I know that
Great answer. Great answer.
Ask the child. And then to try to really understand what it is that the child is trying to communicate that they need or that they feel like they're lacking. Now, obviously, depending on the age and the maturity of the child, they may need help with that from a caring, supportive person. And so, depending on the age, like the younger children, they pretty much are going to share with us how they're feeling by their behaviors. They're going to act that out because they may not have the language or even know how to verbalize it.
Right.
And so, it really depends on the age and maturity of the child. But the first thing I say is ask. Ask the question, and that'll give you a good starting point.
Okay, very good. Of which signs should parents, caregivers, and teachers be aware when dealing with disturbed children?
Good question. I would say any change in a child's behavior is a sign to pay attention to. So, for instance, if you see a child isolating themselves, not being as engaging as they typically are, that's, normal for their temperament. If you see any changes in their appetite, if they're irritable, if they seem not to be able to concentrate as much, if they're restless, if they seem to be a bit more fearful than they typically are, low self-esteem, if they feel hopeless, it's a list of things that you can pay attention to. Crying spells, if they seem to have more physical ailments going on with no real explanation for them, if they come to you and they keep asking you like the same questions, like right now we're in the middle of this pandemic, in the country, and so a lot of kids, if they're exposed to the media, they may be hearing a lot of things. Schools are closing, all kinds of things going on, which may exacerbate fears in children. And so, if you have a child that keeps asking you questions, they're looking for reassurance, paying attention to those things, having an upset stomach. There's a list of things, a change in their routine, a change in the people that they like to be around or that they don't like to be around. All of those are signs that we should pay attention to. Now I could go on, but those.
Oh, right. And that was good. That was good. Now, which behavioral modification strategies do you practice?
Well, for me, I like to practice what I call cognitive behavioral therapy. It's modality in therapy. And that's basically a therapy that helps people to learn how to identify unhelpful thinking patterns and help them to recognize and change inaccurate beliefs, those things that do not serve them well, and how to relate to others in a more positive way. That's what I engage in. And so I do that through a process of different techniques, if you will. But the main idea is to help people to understand why they do what they do. And they first have to begin by identifying, well, what is it that they're thinking about what it is that they're doing. So actually in cognitive behavioral therapy, there's a little formula that I typically teach my clients, and it's A plus B plus C. And so, I don't know how much time we really need to spend on that, but really the main thing being helping children as well as adults. I mean, because it really starts with the adults. The way I think about it, children have only but so much power to make changes, even within themselves, if they're not properly equipped and have the knowledge. And so a lot of the work that I do and have done with children is mainly with the parents.
Okay. Because, sometimes we wonder, well, parents should know everything, but they're on a journey as well in life.
Absolutely.
I know they appreciate your education for them as well. Now, how do you help a child conduct a self-assessment to be aware of his or her actions and correct them instead of going through life projecting his or her pain on others?
Ooh, that is a good question. And actually, it kind of ties into what we were just talking about, because the truth of the matter now is that people live what they learn. And so when you think about a child's experience, in fact, the CDC and Kaiser Permanente, they actually did a study together back between 1995 and 1997 that we now know as the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. It's called ACEs. And it's one of the largest investigations of childhood issues, abuse, neglect, challenges that households go through that can project kind of later life health and well-being for those children. And so this is important because as you look at a child's behavior, I would say that because of the amount of time children spend in school, their waking hours, either in a child care setting or in schools, then second from the parents is the teachers. The teachers and administrators have the most influence and impact on a child's image and their experience in life, those really crucial formative years of life. And that's why it's so important that we do the work, honestly, with the parents and the people who are in positions to influence the children, because children are going to live and learn what they see.
That's right.
So, and we're the ones that are modeling that for them. And so how to help a child conduct that self-assessment, again, it's going to depend on on the age and maturity of the child, just how knowledgeable and equipped the child is, their own coping skills, and all of those things. I would say, one of the best things to do is to actively engage the child on a regular basis, not waiting until something happens. One of the things I practiced with my own child when he was, coming up through school was I made it a routine so that it wasn't something that stood out as abnormal. He didn't even know it was happening, but I made it a routine, a part of our everyday experience to engage in conversation about how his day was. And if there was something that made him feel sad, if there was something that bothered him that day, how did he engage with different, friends in school? How was the teacher today? Just asking just different questions in a way so that you're having conversation with the child so that you can get an assessment as an adult about what's going on in your child's world from their perspective. And that'll help you to understand the behaviors that you're seeing from your child.
Yes, that's good, Leslie. Let's sit right there for a second, because scientifically, from the ages 0 to 5, the personality is shaped. And there's so many factors, including environmental factors, that contribute to the behavior of a child. You point out a very good activity is to engage your child, starting with you, because the parent is the first relationship the child has, and engaging them in communication, which also cultivates communication skills. Thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Now, which activities do you suggest to parents, caregivers, and teachers in addition to engaging them in communication?
I am passionate about parenting, and I like to say, we have to parent on purpose. We have to be more intentional in what we say and what we do with our children. And so when you think about communication, Melanie, communication is multifaceted. So there's the verbal communication, but there's the behavioral communication, the nonverbal. And actually, that is the majority of the communication that we engage in is behaviorally, it's the nonverbal. And so, when we talk about communication, it's not just what we're saying, but even with that, though, even with the communication with the verbal aspect, because from a parent's perspective, a caregiver, and a teacher's perspective, depending on the age of the child, there may be only but so much verbal communication you're going to engage in where you're actually getting information back from the child. You're going to know and learn a lot more about your child by what you watch, by what you see them doing, and then you giving voice to what you see. Okay, so I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So the activities that parents and caregivers and teachers can engage in is just really everyday activities, parallel play. When you actually engage a smaller child in those activities that they like to do, like you said before, you're modeling for them how to engage, how to communicate by what we demonstrate. That's how children learn, by watching us. And so I think we just have to, as adults, as we are more intentional about what we do with the children, it really does set the tone for what they're learning and how they're internalizing what it is that they're learning. They're always learning.
Oh, yes.
Our brains never shut off. We're always learning. And so, setting aside time to play and engage with the child, creating special time. And this doesn't depend on age, because even teenagers need that.
Yes.
And I think sometimes, we could think, oh, they're older, they like spending more time with their peers, and they do. But that does not take away from the time that they need from us as parents and as adults in their lives to help strengthen the bond. Because, it's fundamental and it's foundational to who they're going to choose to be as they continue to transition into adulthood. And
that's a very good point you made about teenagers, because they're children and their brains do not fully develop until mid to late 20s. So they are not grown. And they still need that help with development from their parents.
And you know what? And I say this a lot too, because I actually counsel a lot of young adults. And recently, it seems like I've had just an upsurge of new clients who fall between the ages of like 23 and 30. And they're just coming out of college, and some of them literally has reached out to say, I feel like I need help developing just practical life skills on how to adult, this adulting thing. And that really speaks to the fact that, they recognize now that there's some things they didn't get for whatever reason that they're realizing I need. So help me to get that in a safe way that they know is healthy, and not just relying on their peers for information.
Right. What should parents and caregivers and teachers do to maintain emotional wellness when dealing with disturbed children?
Well, I would say one of the things is take care of yourself. Just take care of yourself. Make yourself a priority. I think oftentimes, it's almost like the analogy that we hear oftentimes about when you're flying and the flight attendants tell you in case of an emergency, put your own mask on first before you can help somebody else.
Yes.
And it's the same thing in life because you can't give what you don't have.
That's right.
So make yourself a priority, set aside time, and make it intentional, make it intentional and tell the people around you what you're doing because we all need it. Parents, caregivers, and teachers naturally are in a position of being helpers and serving others. And so when you're constantly in that space, in that place where you're giving, you have to take some time to replenish and allow other people to speak into and care for you. For caregivers, that's oftentimes hard. It's oftentimes hard for you to let someone else care for you. And that could be as simple as letting someone else that you trust watch your kids for a little while, for an hour or two, or, setting aside an hour or two in the week or in the month, whatever the case may be, to have a movie night for yourself, by yourself.
Yes.
Whatever brings you peace, however you de-stress. I would say that would be very important to intentionally do on a regular, consistent basis so that you're replenished and you're in a good, emotional, healthy space to continue to be your best to those that you're serving.
Very good. Now, are you hosting any upcoming events or do you know of any related upcoming events?
That is so funny right now because I was actually scheduled to present at our Head Start conference, our state conference here next week. But with this pandemic going on, literally everything that I was going to attend, present at, speaking has been canceled. So I would say really just follow me on social media. I'll be posting when these events are going to be rescheduled. Follow me by my name. My name is Leslie M. Hardy on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. And I'll just kind of keep you informed that way. Right now, it's like, we're all in such a state of the uncertainty with what's going on. We're just kind of playing it, week by week. But I'm still planning by faith. So there will be things coming up.
That is right, Leslie. Any resources you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Actually, I am an author, and so I would like to share my book. The title of my book is Prepared for a Purpose, Embrace the Process. And you can find that directly on my website. If you order directly from me, you will get an autographed copy. You can also find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble as well online. I also have an accompanying workbook that will be released over the next 2 months. Stay tuned for that. You can just follow me and stay tuned for that. I actually have finished it, and I'm just going through doing some final edits. I'm preparing an online course that's going to accompany that. I also have a live broadcast that I do on Sundays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook Live. And it's called Life Perspectives with Leslie, where I actually have people to come on, experts to come on in their respective fields, and just everyday people, and share about how do you be your best in whatever it is you're doing in life to really inspire and encourage other people to really keep going. So I just encourage everybody to go to my website, which is my name, LeslieMHardy.com, for the other services and products that are in production for 2020.
Yes. So excited for you, Leslie, and always so proud. And I'm excited with the education and the coaching that the people are going to experience globally from listening to you today.
Amen. Thank you so much for having me on. It was truly my honor, my pleasure that you actually even invited me. I don't take it for granted, and I'm just honored to be a part of your platform and what you're doing to impact the world as well.
Oh, thank you. And you know we're inviting you back, Leslie.
Please, I would love to come back. Thank you.
You know, we have you scheduled in May for a mental health month. So you remember we have a show in May. So we're looking forward to hearing from you again in May.
Okay, sounds good. Just let me know. I'm ready.
Oh, thank you so much for hanging out with us today, Leslie.
Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate you.
Join us next week for the episode, Set the Captives Free, Living After Lockup. Remember, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Peace.